It's time to review Revenge, but first an unbox. Here we go. This is from The Horror Show, my good buddies, who just passed 20,000 subscribers. Congrats, guys. Cecil Laird, Jamie Fuego, Marsha Parker, and Susie Von Slaughter. So anyway, here we go real quick. I think I just cut myself. Which is fitting for this review, though, because there is a shit ton of blood. Did you see that, like, dust? Like, cardboard dust? Oh, this is awesome. This is their t-shirt, Coexist, and it has like horror icons all the way through. I love it. HorrorShowChannel.com. You know what? I'm wearing this bad boy for my review. Here we go. Much better. Revenge. Let's do this. Revenge stars Matilda Lutz, Kevin Janssens, and is directed by Coralie Fargeat. What's up, guys? Welcome to a brand new 2018 review. Revenge is a movie that I heard some rumblings about about a month ago, something like that. I know Jamie Fuego from The Horror Show actually reviewed this movie. So I am super pumped to finally review this one. It's definitely high on my watch list. Just from the images alone from this movie, I was super pumped. And it's a good old revenge story. I love revenge stories. And this one was right up my alley. So at the beginning of Revenge, you have this couple, Jen and Richard. They're having an affair with each other. Richard is actually married, he's got kids, and so they're in this secluded location. It looks like Spain. A lot of this movie reminded me of the locations of Sexy Beast. That's a movie with Ben Kingsley. If you haven't seen it, Ben Kingsley gives one of the greatest performances I've ever seen on film. So, and I digress. But right away, you know, this looks like, you know, this couple that they are deeply in love or lust. You know, I mean, it starts off with a sexual bang, I guess you could say. But they're there for one thing, you know, they want to have sex, they want to have fun. And then these two other guys show up, these two douchebags. And then we're stuck in a dangerous situation here because we got three guys, rich douchebags, and this one girl. And she's actually with Richard, but Richard is not a good guy. I mean, obviously he's cheating on his wife without even caring in the world. But aside from that, he's not a good guy. And we learn that later in the movie. But while Richard's away, one of the other guys, he rapes Jen. And from this point on, the movie takes a tonal shift. Before this, it's kind of like, you definitely can feel an air of danger there, but not full on, you know. But then once this happens, then it gets really crazy. And so there's a situation there. Richard wants Jen to just, you know, move to Canada, keep her mouth shut, and she doesn't want to do that. You know, she's torn by this whole thing. So eventually Richard realizes in his deranged mind, he's got to kill her. And the scene where they're at this cliff and he pushes her off, this really sets the revenge story into motion. When she falls off this cliff, she lands on this tree and is pretty much impaled from the back, which is one of my problems for the movie because she would be freaking dead in a heartbeat. But bear with me for a minute. In my mind, this almost feels like a Crow sequel. It really does. All the way down to the burn mark on Jen's stomach. This is one of my favorite scenes in the movie, actually. I call it the Rebirth Scene. There's this drug, this peyote, that she takes to numb the pain. And she goes on all these hallucinations. And a little bit of it reminded me of like that scene in Rambo 3 where he's cauterizing the wound and it's really intense. That's the way this scene was, but it was intense times like 10. But it's really cool too because she takes this beer can and she cuts it and uses it to cauterize her wound. You know, this big freaking gaping wound in her stomach. So once she comes out of this rebirth, then she is on a mission. You know, she has to really fight for her life. It's not fully about revenge. It's more about her just trying to survive because these three guys, they find out that she's gone. They want to kill her. You know, no ifs, ands, or buts. So it's a little bit of a revenge story, but it's also, she's got to fight for her life. And let me tell you, this thing is bloody as hell. This is everything that I would want in a revenge movie. As a matter of fact, it reminded me of the movie Revenge starring Kevin Costner. If you don't remember that one, I think it came out in like the early 90s, maybe late 80s. And it deals with like an affair and then this group of like dirty business guys and they want to kill Kevin Costner. So there are some similarities between the two aside from the actual name of the movie. And that's actually a pretty decent movie too. Now there is an underlying theme throughout this thing. This is woman empowerment. I think that's a big part of this movie. The director, Coralie Fargeat, she had a vision in this movie, you know, to take this girl who at face value looks like, you know, a dumb blonde. You know, it's easy to be judgmental to this type of person. She's really, really sexy. And so she's going to be gawked at by these three guys. And so imagining her becoming this force at the end of the movie, this badass really, you can't really envision it at first. But then, you know, after what she goes through, this rebirth, like I like to call it, she becomes a badass and you buy it. And you could take a character like Sharni Vinson was in You're Next. From the get-go, she was a badass. You know, she had all this training and everything. But I like stories where you take a regular person and then they have to somehow summon the courage to do something they've never done in their whole life. And that's what she does in this movie. And I think that gives it a little bit more thematic weight. Now, like I said, this movie's bloody as hell. They do not hold back. They must have used freaking buckets and buckets and buckets of blood. The last scene in this movie, there's just literally blood all over the floor. They're sliding all over the place. And this is one of those movies where, like, if there's a scene of like violence where a character gets cut, they don't shy away. There's a scene where a guy cuts his foot, and then the camera like gets right in there. Like it's almost like the camera's inside his foot, and it doesn't pull back. And after a while, you're just like, okay, that's enough. And I'm a huge horror blood and guts fan, but there are some scenes in this movie that do get pretty squeamish, I will say. And also, obviously, this does, I think, feel a lot like I Spit on Your Grave, just because of the premise. Now, as far as any cons, I will say that the last act is great, but they do kind of stretch out the scenes a bit, I think unneedlessly. I don't remember the exact runtime of this thing, but it could have actually been cut down by maybe 10, 15 minutes. But they do like to stretch out the scenes. But some might say that's good for tension's sake. But it didn't bother me. So I'm definitely going to give this a high purchase worthy though, guys. It's a really fun watch. Visually striking film, beautifully shot. I mean, there's a lot to love about this movie, and I'm actually looking forward to watching it again, actually. I love a good revenge story, and this will definitely go in my like revenge movie collection. So anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on Revenge? Let me know in the comments. Also, be sure to go over to the Horror Show, check out their channel. Some great stuff. I've actually been on one of their streams in the past. They do great streams. I think one of the best horror streams on YouTube. And thank you guys for this t-shirt. Love it. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. And on Fridays, we do Free Fall Fridays. If you like what I'm doing, hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. I just passed 13,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for that, guys. Really appreciate it. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out.